I talk, you listen, or you turn the channel. Either way, I'm still going to talk. Welcome to Unfiltered. As you can see, the look of the set is a little bit different, and there's a reason for that. It's Friday afternoon. We did the show last night, full crew. Had a slight problem with the DVD recorder, so we ended up with no show. When you work with technology, equipment, electronics, sometimes things go tits up. So, you know, what could we do? It was either show or repeat, which I had decided to do this morning, but I decided this afternoon that I'd come in, sit here in the booth, and, you know, not trouble my crew to come down, but in order to put out a new episode for you folks, I'd come down and try to do it this way. If it's a little noisy, it's because we're in the booth and the office is right behind us. Chris and Randy should be here probably right as I'm wrapping up to set up for No Spin, which will air right after this. Bear with me, because I'm trying to run the computer and do what two people usually do in here. We've got a new email address. The old one was getting filled up with all, like, the make yourself larger pills and, you know, lose 20 pounds in 3 days. I mean, I can't stand to lose any weight. There's stuff about, you know, do you want this credit card? You pre-approved for this. All the crap advertising spam stuff that usually builds up in the emails. So I opened a new email account just for the show. Hotmail. Unfiltered at hotmail.com. Simple. I also found that a lot of you weren't emailing because you couldn't figure out the whole head for laughs thing with the number in the middle of the letters and all that. So real simple. Unfiltered at hotmail.com. Send me your, you know, questions, topics you'd like to hear me talk about. You know, comments about the show, things you don't understand. You know, I'd be happy to explain anything. So, unfiltered at hotmail.com. Let me try to do Bruce's job too here. All right. Let's see. Thursday's paper had a revelation about that huge train crash that nobody paid attention to because the economy was failing so miserably last week. I guess just south of Los Angeles, California, freight train ran into a commuter train head-on. 25 people dead, hundreds injured. Turns out the driver of one of the trains was texting while he was working to, what they said in the paper was it was to some teenage train fans. And I guess if you're a teenage train fan, you try and text message to drivers all the time. Oh, it's the light like changing all around, isn't it? It's like the sun's rising, it's setting. But this is the first time that this has ever been done. You know, broadcasting right here from the control booth. So we're trying to figure out. I want to thank Lee because he's pitched in a lot today. Of course, he knows me, all this last minute, you know, harebrained schemes that Rick's got. And I'm happy to announce that we have Sean back in the studio for a visit. Young man that used to volunteer a lot here at Cheshire TV, joined the Army. He's in between duty stations right now, so he's back enjoying a little bit of the good life before he ships back out for places unknown. He said he could tell us where he's going, but he'd have to kill us. So we just, stopped asking at that point, and he'll go on. But he'll keep in touch with us, and I'm sure he'll be back. So the train wreck, texting, it's nuts. They tell you don't text in a car. If you can wreck a train while you're texting, you could wreck a car while you're texting. Cars you can turn. Trains don't turn, but you can still wreck them. The other half of that story is who the hell put the two trains on the same track? Nobody said anything about that yet. A math professor, maybe. Somebody, if this train's going this way and this train's going this way, where will they meet and how many people will die? Maybe it's just me. What else is going on? This week, Portsmouth is starting something. A bunch of the Portsmouth bar owners got together, and they've decided that they're going to form like this little union, this little list, that if you get drunk in a bar in Portsmouth and get thrown out of the bar and banned from one bar, you will be banned from the entire group of bars, which is a fantastic idea, especially where they're talking about, lowering the drinking age, raising the driver's license age, which is stupid. But it's a great idea for all these bars to get together, and if they did this in Keene, they'd find that there's a lot less problems, because if you get thrown out and banned from one bar, no problem. You just go to another bar, and you're still the drunk ass that you were in the previous bar. Nothing changes. But if you get banned from all the bars, and you're not allowed in any of these bars, well, then maybe you'll rethink the way that you act in these bars. So I think it's a great idea. What else do I want to go to? I have no crew call tonight because it's easy. It was Lee and Sean set up the stuff, the camera and stuff, and then walked out of the room. So no Tarzan. But I do want to mention a story that Tarzan talked about last night about the sexual assaults article in the Sentinel. It's starting already. It's all college-oriented. I've said it, time and time again. Avoid the sexual assault stuff. One of the reasons that you girls can help yourselves, don't drink so much. It's easy. Don't get so drunk that you don't know what you're doing. That way people can't take advantage of you. Don't go out by yourself. Stay with a group of people. Don't, if you are drinking at a party, don't take your eyes off of your drink, because people can slip stuff in it. It's all common sense stuff. Look out for yourself. And if you're drunk, you can't look out for yourself. So it's a horrible thing. I hate to see, college has only been open a month, and we're already seeing the problems. We've got more violence in Keene. We've got, crap going on downtown. We've got the sexual assaults on campus. It's stupid. The college, whether it's the college that has to step up or, Keene police are, I think, doing everything they can, getting cops to pose as college kids. So, I don't know. What else have I got? Let me spend, seeing as how I'm 15 minutes short of material tonight, I want to talk a little bit more about my trip to Maine. And like I said last week, I went to the Maine Maritime Museum, which it's an entire, you could spend, they give you a 2-day ticket because you could literally spend 2 days going through and seeing and learning about shipbuilding in Maine. The old wooden hulled schooners is what they built at the place where I went. It's called the Percy and Smalls Shipyard. They built the largest wooden sailing vessel ever launched in the United States. It was the 6-masted schooner Wyoming. Now, along with all the artifacts and the ship models, one of the coolest things that that I saw in the museum were the dioramas that people had made, or that the museum has made to show what it was like. And I got a clip here of some of the dioramas, a few of the dioramas at the museum. And there's no sound with it, but have a look at this. What the hell? Yeah, so that was the main Maritime Museum. The last shot you saw was the first white piece that you saw was represented the back of the schooner Wyoming, and the front half was represented, and that basically showed where the ship was built on that lot. Some of the old ways are still there that they used to slide the ships down into the river with, and it's a fantastic museum. They also offer cruises up and down the river. They offer a trolley tour twice a week through the Bath Iron Works, where they're still making military ships today. Some of the bigger guided missile destroyers and things like that are built in Bath. I also read that apparently the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard just got a huge amount of money, and they're going to be assisting the Kittery Shipyard, I believe, in fixing submarines. So great news for New Hampshire and the seacoast area, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Um, but the whole shipbuilding industry back in the days when this museum was a working shipyard is just incredible. And like I said, you could spend the 2 days there, go through, you learn all kinds of things. You can even tour the actual mansion where the shipyard owners lived, as well as, you know, all the working spaces. There's a schooner usually tied to the pier that you can tour, so you can see inside. And I've got clips of, in the raw footage that I shot, of the schooner and the sleeping area that these people had, and they're tiny. But it's funny because when I stepped onto the schooner, of course, being an old Navy man, as I went down the gangplank, I asked permission to come aboard from the 2 volunteer museum workers that were there. And they were telling me the story of this boat, and it was a working cod fishing schooner, and there were dinghies stacked on the deck. Well, apparently the way that it would work would be that 2 guys would get in each dinghy off of the ship. They'd go out and they'd lay what they called long lines, which was a long line weighted on one end and had hooks every so often, and then weighted on the other end with a buoy or something. So these guys in this little dinghy would row back and forth along this line, getting the fish off the hooks, rebaiting them and dropping them back down, and throwing the fish in the boat. Now, when the boat got full, they would go back to the ship and offload the dinghy. But if you think about it, as the boat filled up, these guys were actually sitting in with all these fish. So as the boat filled up, you know, you've got fish completely surrounding you, flopping and sliming around. So it was a pretty nasty, ugly job, but necessary. All right. Anyway, that was a museum, and it was really cool, cheap, and a great look into the history of our area. You know, and it's not just Keene, it's not just New Hampshire. Look at the entire area surrounding us. The Maine coast is beautiful and filled with history. So a lot of forts up there. I've got clips that are going to be coming up in future shows of the fort up there. I'm going to have more clips eventually of Bubbles and the troop up there, the kids that belong to my friend that just moved up there. And the middle daughter, now they just started giving her piano lessons. So they're teaching the oldest daughter to play the guitar. The middle daughter is getting piano lessons. I don't know what the youngest one's going to do, but it sounds like my friend, who is a guitarist, it looks like he's forming his own band. So I think it'll be really cool. All right, where do I want to go now? Let's talk a little politics. Let me start by saying that I think the problem with our political process these days is too many parties, plain and simple, and not good parties. These are poor parties. They serve horrible food, outrageous price per plate, and boring. Actually, we got 2 parties that are the main problem. Why is it about the parties? Why isn't it just about, I mean, all you see, we're getting down there. We've got like 2 months to go before we have to vote. And we've got Obama running ads about, you know, John McCain did this, but he didn't do that, and he didn't do this, and he didn't do that, and he's a horrible person. And we've got John McCain running ads about Barack Obama, saying, oh my God, he's a horrible person, and he's black, and he's done this, and his wife's not proud, and all this other kind of crap. And nobody's talking about our problems. You know, John McCain mentioned that the fundamentals of our economy are strong, even though all these banks and lending institutions are going down the tubes. Personally, I say let them go down the tubes. But the point is, these candidates are spending millions and millions of dollars to badmouth the other guy. Instead of spending millions and millions of dollars telling everybody how good you are, you spend millions telling people how bad the other guy is. It's not right. I've come up with here's my idea. Why not have like a pay-for-play presidency? You know, on eBay. Okay? Here's President of the United States for 1 year. How much do you bid? Run it for a month. The highest bidder gets the job. And then you take that money that he paid, you put it into the economy. Put it into the government. It's the only way you'll get tax breaks is if the guy who's being president pays to be president. Plain and simple. I mean, but these guys aren't paying to be president. They're paying advertising executives millions of dollars to make the other guy look bad. Don't do that. Spend your millions of dollars making yourself look good. If I was John McCain, I would stop running the TV ads. I would go and I'd get a facelift and I'd get my teeth done and I'd get my ears pinned back and I'd get my shoulders worked on so I could raise my arms and I'd take the little smiling Bob pills so I had a big one. Plain and simple. That's what we need, a president with a big one who's not afraid to use it. That's all I'm saying. Don't waste your money bad-mouthing the other guy. Waste your money on the Smiling Bob pills. Because even if you don't get presidency, you'll have a great career in porno or something. I don't know. A lot of it has to do with the media. And, I mean, it's not just today's media. Last week, Tarzan gave me an article out of a 1981 Easy Rider magazine. Because that's what Tarzan's into. He likes motorcycles and this is the way that people used to think. In May 28th, 1981, Police Chief Thomas Gallagher, who was the head of a southeastern Pennsylvania task force on outlaw motorcycle gangs, spoke at a meeting of the Philadelphia Crime Commission, and this is what he said. Motorcycle gangs are true terrorists, no different from European terrorist organizations. They are financed by and work for organized crime. Yeah. Motorcycle clubs. Terrorists. He also said that along with an impressive arsenal of explosives and weapons, the modern biker club sometimes boasts a helicopter, a DC-8 airplane, and stock in 2 magazines, Super Cycle and Easy Rider. Now, back in the 70s, I remember when I was a kid and we camped in Maine every weekend. On Bike Week, traveling between Keene and Maine, you would see the bikers coming in for Bike Week. And in the 70s, you'd get these groups of 50, 60, 70 bikers rolling up Route 9, the old Route 9, before any of the bypasses were put in, through all these little tiny towns. And it was funny because as a biker group would come into town, a cop was parked at the edge of town and he'd pull right out behind them, follow them all the way through town because they didn't want problems. And these were people, with dirty jeans and leather vests and long hair and no helmets and, your stereotypical old-time outlaw biker. But the way that this Chief Gallagher put it, a lot of the bikers were changing and they were going underground. They were starting to wear suits and ties and invest. No real biker I ever knew ever invested in the stock market because they were always, what's the word? Mavericks. Yeah. And they wanted nothing to do with the system. But they weren't terrorists. They were just, most of them were trying to live, live their own lives their own way without any problems. Yes, there were the horrible outlaw gangs that did go around killing people and robbing stores and carousing like pirates. But that was a small part of the whole biker culture. Webster's dictionary defines terrorism as the following: the act or process of terrorizing. Also, the systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion. Now, if you think about that last one, the systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion, you're talking about the government for the past 7 years. Since 9/11, the government, the media, have forced terror down our throats and made us change our entire way of life because we're so afraid. So who are the real terrorists? I mean, I don't know. It's too weird. All right, I did those. Let me go to NASCAR, because seeing how Andrea's not here, I hate to not do the NASCAR, especially when she did a great job last night. Last week in New Hampshire at the Sylvania 300, it was a great race. I saw part of it before I had to go off to work. The best thing in my mind was the fact that from the very beginning, Kyle Busch had problems with his car, and he finally wrecked it. He finished way back there. Where'd you put it, Andrea? 34th. Kyle Busch finished in the race. A lot of the other guys had good races. The results from the race: first place was Greg Biffle. Second place was Jimmy Johnson. Third place was Carl Edwards. Fourth place was Jeff Burton. Fifth place was Dale Jr. Kurt Busch followed in sixth place. Martin Truex in seventh. Tony Stewart in eighth. Denny Hamlin, my guy, finished in ninth, which is respectable. It's not third place like he has for the past 3 weeks, but ninth is respectable. And in the 10th space was Kevin Harvick, who is Andrea's choice in our new little pool that we have going. And the way that works is if your driver that you've been rooting for all year doesn't make the chase, you get to pick a chase driver. So Andrea picked Kevin Harvick. He finished 10th. So something about the way that Andrea picks her drivers, it always brings them bad luck. So, sorry, Andrea. The standings shook up quite a bit in the top 12. So the top 12 in the standings after New Hampshire was Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeff Burton in fifth. Denny Hamlin in sixth, Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick in 10th, Jeff Gordon, and Matt Kenseth in 12th. So that's the way the standings are right now. And like I said, or like Andrea said last night, every single race in these last 10 races is huge. Because you saw last week, Kyle Busch was in first place. And he had been in first place for 18 races. And in one race, he dropped from first to 8th in the standings. Yeah, 8th. Kyle Busch. from first to eighth, one race. He lost that many points. And he is now 74 points behind the leader. He was in the lead by, I don't know, a bunch. Now he's behind. This week we go to Dover, Delaware, the Magic Mile. And always a great race. And I believe, no, never mind. I was going to say that's the one that's shaped like a paperclip, but I believe that's Martinsville. But Dover's always a great track. It's always exciting. Although, you know, it's the same thing. It seems like every race, whoever gets in a lead with these new cars, it just drives away from everybody. So everything depends on caution and strategy and being able to be that guy that gets out in the lead. All right. We're like halfway into the show, so. Oh. Let me get my. There we go. Well, this week's Mom's Tattoo musical interlude is from the 2008 Keene Music Festival, and it's the last band that played. A little bit different. It's the Lawn Boys on the Mom's Tattoo musical interlude. Forgot to bring my sound up. All right, that was the Lawn Boys. I'm not sure where they were from, but I bet you never thought you'd see an accordion in a rock band. That song kind of had like a Louisiana, New Orleans kind of a feel, maybe a Zydeco. Uh, the song that I wanted to use, the keyboard player's got this really weird little baby head. I'm not sure what it was, but it made weird sounds. I was going to use that song, but it was like 10 and a half minutes. I probably could have got away with it tonight because I don't have a whole lot. But they were a great band. There are 6 other great bands, and you know, for as long as they last, I'll be running clips from the Keen Music Fest 2008 for any of you that didn't make it down there. All right. I can't let an episode go by in this political season without talking about Sarah Palin, because she's hot. Yeah, I don't know. Tina Fey is back on Saturday Night Live doing the portrayal because she does look a lot like Sarah Palin. Another one is Megan Mullally from Will and Grace that looks a lot like Sarah Palin. And I don't know, maybe it's just the glasses. I don't know. But I saw the interview with Sarah Palin and Charles Gibson, which was, I mean, she was all right. She held her own. Of course, I guess Charles Gibson's kind of a pussycat. But he asked her how she felt about the proposed ban on semi-automatic assault rifles. And she said she's against it. For one, because she's a lifetime member of the NRA. 2, she's an avid hunter. And 3, she lives in Alaska. And it's easier just to shoot those baby harp seals than it is to bludgeon them to death with a baseball bat. So she's all for assault weapons. She'd actually like to see a ban on baseball bats. I know that was a horrible joke, but in the 70s, it was a big thing, you know, bludgeoning the harp seals, but apparently it had to be done because I don't know why, whether it was the fur or the meat or whatever. I think it's cool that she's, you know, against that ban because, you know, honest gun owners are just that, honest gun owners. They'll probably never use their gun in anger, ever. The point of everybody having a gun is that in case Red Dawn ever happens and Patrick Swayze's not around, people will be able to pick up their own guns and defend themselves. That's what it is. It's not to go out and shoot your neighbor or, you know, or anything like that. It's to defend yourself against hostile intent. Plain and simple. One of the funniest things, I can't remember, I don't think it was the interview with Charles Gibson, but they were talking, no, it was actually an interview with her husband, with Sarah Palin's husband, who they're calling this the first dude or the second dude or something. I don't know where that came from, but he is like a professional snowmobile racer. So think about this. If McCain and Palin get into office, they'll have to start issuing the Secret Service with long underwear, gloves, hats, winter boots, you know, all these things so that they can, and snowmobiles, dog sleds, whatever else they're going to need to follow this dude around Alaska as he races snowmobiles and dog sleds everywhere. And the Secret Service will have to be with him. It's going to be a mess, I think. One of the funny things I heard about Sarah Palin, of course, she's like the reformer or whatever. She took on the oil companies and said, look, if you're going to have your pipeline in our state, you're going to, you know, pay our people that live here. And she won that one. She says she's against earmarks and pork barrel spending and things, and she said that I said no thank you to that bridge to nowhere. Well, it wasn't actually a bridge to nowhere. It was a bridge to some small community in Alaska where they've got an airport where people can fly the bush planes in and out of, which is where, you know, most of the people in Alaska get around by bush plane anyway, because it's the only way to get to a lot of that. I mean, Alaska is one of the most wide open states that we have. But at first, she was pushing for the bridge, and once it became a whole federal thing, then she said, no, thank you. But let me tell you some things she said yes, thank you to. She took a huge amount of money to study the genetics of the harbor seal, which I don't know why, because I'm pretty sure that in the harbor world, the seal's genetics are just right, you know, and they don't need to be tampered with or studied or anything. I mean, the harbor seals live, they die, you know, just like everything else. The other thing she took money for, huge money, was to study the mating habits of crabs. Yeah, the mating habits of crabs. In my mind, the only one that should be concerned with the mating habits of crabs are other crabs. And maybe instead of, you know, spending millions of dollars to study the mating habits of crabs, maybe she should have just turned around for free and studied the mating habits of her own daughter. Maybe that would have been a better plan, because apparently she knows all about crab sex, but nothing about her daughter's sexual life. And I don't know, it's just another one of those stupid things. If I'm not going to say anything nice about anybody, don't say anything at all. So all right, she's a little twisted, but she's hot, so I'll go for it. I had something else too. Let me get to this, because Andrea gave me this yesterday. And man, Bruce, this is a hard damn job in here, trying to watch everything, make sure everything's in the right place, and it's hard to look at the camera and look at the damn lights at the same time. So here we go. This is, Andrea emailed me this. It's a moral dilemma. And it says to read the entire thing for the correct impact. So here we go. You're driving down a road on a wild, stormy night, and as you pass a bus stop, you see 3 people waiting for a bus. An old lady who looks as if she's about to die, an old friend who once saved your life, and the perfect partner that you've been dreaming about your whole life. Which one would you choose to give a ride to, knowing that there could only be one passenger in your car? Now think about it. Who would you give a ride to? This is actually a moral and ethical dilemma that was once actually used in a job application process. And you could pick up the old lady because she's about to die and you should save her first. You could pick up your old friend because he saved your life and this would be the perfect opportunity to repay the debt. Then again, you may never find your perfect partner again. Tough choice. Well, the guy that was hired out of 200 candidates had no problem coming up with the answer, and this is what he answered. He said he'd give the car keys to his old friend and let him take the old lady to the hospital. Meanwhile, he'd stay and wait for the bus with the partner of his dreams. Amazing, huh? A lot of times you gain more if you can give up your stubborn thought limitations. And this is another example of how you get ahead by thinking outside the box. However, truthfully, the correct answer is you run the old lady over to put her out of her misery, you have sex with the perfect partner on the hood of your car, and then you drive off with your old friend for a few beers. Happy endings. All right. Man, I can't believe Oh, okay. I knew I had something else. I want to talk about the economy. This whole Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch bull stuff, Bear Stearns, and the fact that he may have to crap out in the woods now. I don't know. Who would have seen this coming? Somebody said this is a, don't worry, this is a once in a century occurrence. Yeah, I believe that. It won't happen again probably for another century. Last time it happened was, 1929. Yeah, the Depression. Apparently depressions are once in a century occurrences, and we're headed into one, I think. The government bailing these businesses out is stupid. For one thing, in my 47 years living, I've seen a lot of businesses start up and fail. A bunch right here in Keene, the Hemporium, was open for years. Drove by one day and it's gone. Sound Power is on its way out. That's a name that's been, when you thought about electronics and about communications, you thought about Sound Power. That business is very close to being out of business. Where's the government for them? Why doesn't the government bail those people out? The small business owners. Oh no, we'll bail out the rich cats because God forbid these guys that are sitting in Lehman Brothers top offices have to, for one day, know what it's like to live in a box. I say, let them go under. Let these people know what it's like to be poor. Maybe they won't make such piss-poor decisions. You know? But it's the whole fact that it's the government. The government is controlling everything. They're controlling the economy, they're controlling the banks, they're controlling you and me. Because we're letting them. And we're sitting by and going, oh, we hate the fact that the government's bailing out these huge businesses, but we let them do it. You know, if you won the Powerball for, say, $100 million, and you walked in and said, look, I don't want a check, I don't want bank notes, I don't want stocks, I want $100 million in money, in cash, in fives and tens and hundreds and $1,000 bills and quarters. They wouldn't be able to give it to you. All the money you've ever given the bank doesn't have anymore. It's invested. They invest your money so that they can make money for taking your money. That really doesn't sound right, does it? Something's definitely wrong. And the fundamentals of our economy aren't strong. They're weak. Because the American workers are doing all the work and all their money's going overseas. Yeah. The government borrows billions from other countries around the world. But yet we loan other countries around the world billions and never see it repaid. You know, we spend billions in Iraq every single day just to be over there. And it's stupid. Meanwhile, all the top financial places have fallen, the Dow's plummeting, you know, and I think yesterday Mom said, oh, the Dow is up 300 or something. Well, I would hope so, seeing how it was down like 500 one day, 500 the next day, and then it goes up 300. That's like being happy when the price of gas goes from $3.75 to $3.69. And you go, oh boy, gas is at $3.69. Oh my God. But yeah, the lowest it'll go. I think we had it in Keene at $3.50 I don't know. No, actually, Bruce and I saw it in Chicopee at 341. And now, the next time it goes up, it won't just go up to 370. It'll go up to 390. And then it'll come down to 360. And we'll all be happy because gas is 360. Well, it's stupid. And it's all because of the economy. Social Security is the same way. The problem with Social Security now is that we forgot the last letter. The last letter in the equation became unimportant. But back in the 30s, when Roosevelt came up with the idea for Social Security, it wasn't Social Security, it was SSI. I know some of you have heard that term before, SSI. You probably don't know what it means. A lot of people think SSI means Social Security income. That's not what it means. SSI means Social Security insurance. And what it was designed for, it was designed to supplement your pension. Because back in the 30s, if you worked for a company for 20 years, they gave you a pension, which was a large amount of money for you to live on from the time you're 65 until the time you die, which, if you were lucky, was 5 or 6 years. Social Security was never meant to be a career. Social Security was meant to be a stipend, just a little bit of money that you would pay into the system for so long, and then if you needed it, it was there. But if you didn't need it, it stayed, and it helped people that didn't need it. Nowadays, nobody gives pensions. Nobody will let you stay at a job for a full 20 years. They'll fire you 19 years, 363rd day. They'll get rid of you, lay you off or something, so they don't have to pay your pension and everything else that they should pay when you formally retire from a company. Or they'll offer you early retirement so that they don't have to pay you so much money. And don't worry, Social Security will cover the rest. But it won't. Because if I put away $1 a year for 25 years, expecting that when I'm 65, I can take $1 a year for 40 years, it doesn't add up. And the extra money has to come somewhere. Problem is, we're making people live longer. We're stretching people's lives because 70, 75 years isn't enough to put up with all this crap that we put up with. So we'll stretch people's lives longer. That way, hospitals can make a little bit more money on their treatments, because as you get older, shit starts to fail. I mean, the DVD recorder that failed last night during our show was not brand new. It's probably been in the studio for a year. It's probably produced, thousands of hours of great DVDs. But last night, it died. Yeah, it had a long run. And it's fantastic. Life is like that too. You live, you die. That's why you make the most of your life every single day. That way you don't have to live to be 100. Because by the time you're 60 or 70, you've already done everything there is to do. So you might as well die. Save the country a little bit of money. Save everybody a little bit of something. Hospitals wouldn't be half as busy if old people weren't taking up the time, trying to die while the hospital was trying to save them. I don't know. I've got just about 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. So what have I got? I did the economy. What it boils down to is greed. That's what it is. It's the rich want to get richer and don't give a damn about the poor. And it's not right. It is definitely not right. Let me, we'll give you, wow. All right. Once again, we changed the email email address, because the other one was getting full up with spam and junk mail and everything else. And a lot of people couldn't get the hang of the head four last with the number in the middle of all the letters. So I've simplified it. I've got the new email address is unfiltered@hotmail.com. And like I said at the beginning of the show, email us, with your comments, your questions. Any one of the crew will be happy to answer any question about themselves or about what they do here at Cheshire TV. But unfiltered@hotmail.com. Email us. Tell us what you want to hear about, and we'll make it happen. We've got less than a month now until the Pumpkin Fest in Keene. Gearing up for that. Again, Cheshire TV will be right there on the spot. I believe we're planning to be live all day with something going on. Now, I've been given second thoughts to doing an actual unfiltered show. We're still tossing the ideas around as to, what we can do. But we'll come up with something, a great day of programming. If you can't make it down to the Pumpkin Fest, tune in to Cheshire TV. And we'll have updates all day. We're just going to have a great day down there to spread the word about Cheshire TV, try and get more volunteers coming in, and a little bit more promotion of the station. Because, we still don't have every single hour of the studio booked. And I know that's Lee's dream, is to have every single hour of the studio booked and people making shows in here and editing all the time. That's the only way we'll get our second channel. Because apparently, once you have enough programming, you can get a second channel. That would be awesome. And things are moving forward. The budget here is looking better and better all the time. There's talk about, within the next few years, moving upstairs in this building, and the room that they've got planned for a studio up there is huge. You could probably do 2 shows or 3 shows at one time. So it'll be great. A lot of great things happening here at Cheshire TV. All right, I've got a minute left. Tonight's clip is the Thunderbirds with some great music. And it's time. Up next on No Spin, Joe Kenny, the Republican candidate for governor. He's going to talk to Chris and Randy about the job. He's going to try and fill John Lynch's shoes. And I screwed up and we didn't get the credits. So that's just the way it goes. It's a tough job in here, trying to do everything on your own. We'll show you the Thunderbirds next week. Like I said, up next on No Spin, Joe Kenny, Republican candidate for governor. Until next week, this is Rick Flood.